Mel Gibson Speaks for the first time. To this day, no one can explain it. What would cause a director acclaimed by Hollywood to be discredited by the entire industry after creating the most impactful Christian film of recent times? Mel Gibson knew there was no turning back. He understood that depicting Christ's crucifixion with brutal realism, biblical fidelity, and a cast willing to truly suffer would have consequences. Nevertheless, he saw it through to the end without the support of a studio independent, and with a conviction that made people uncomfortable then and now. What few know is what happened behind the scenes. Unexplained phenomena began to occur, the atmosphere on set became strange, and the crew's reactions were out of control. Those who experienced these events have not forgotten them. This video is not just about a film but the spiritual weight of touching on a sacred story and what it cost those who dared to film it. What happened at the Passion of the Christ studio was recorded, but almost no one had the courage to expose it. Stick around until the end. There are details that were hushed up and a truth the modern press preferred not to comment on. Before we proceed, please hit like below. With that out of the way, let's get straight to the point from the start. Mel Gibson showed conviction by personally financing nearly $30 million, something few directors would dare to do. This attitude demonstrated willpower and responsibility, as he was sure he needed to move forward. Even when major studios refused to support the project, this climate of exclusivity, without Hollywood interference, paved the way for bold artistic decisions. The choice to use Aramaic, Latin, and Hebrew served as a definitive step towards a production seeking historical fidelity, but also aimed to touch the audience's heart. Jim Caviezel, in the role of Jesus Christ, carried a burden greater than simply portraying a character. Some say he lived each scene. In an interview, Caviezel recounted that before accepting the role, he received a warning from Gibson himself that it would be a physical and spiritual challenge so great it could irreversibly affect any actor's career in Hollywood, yet Caviezel responded that he felt born for this role, noting even that he shared the same initials as Jesus Christ, JC, and was 33 years old. This deep identification grew curiosity among colleagues, as it's uncommon to see an actor embrace such a risky project without hesitation. When filming began, the crew realized the production would face a harsh scenario, including uneven terrain, freezing winds, and unexpected rain. In Matera, Italy, it was not a lavish production surrounded by luxuries and ease. On the contrary, each day brought its own set of challenges. Still, a mysterious atmosphere hovered over the set. Some felt an intense aura, as if the story being enacted stirred a special feeling in each person. To reinforce the idea of authority, it's worth remembering that most of the technical team was extremely experienced. Seasoned Hollywood professionals, however, even these experts were not prepared for so many surprises. The most striking accounts involve accidents on set, some without logical explanation from the beginning of production. Jim Caviezel was genuinely whipped during the recreation of one of the most painful passages of Jesus' journey, resulting in unplanned injuries. There was also the episode where lightning struck near actor Caviezel and assistant director Michelini at different times. For Caviezel, the electric shock was so strong that everyone feared the worst. The actor describes the feeling as a fright that tested his faith, but he returned to filming with determination. Before continuing with the video, I must address a very important and delicate topic. I'm talking about the excessive consumption of pornography among Christians. This practice has been growing significantly in recent years, and it seems there's no solution in sight because it's a delicate subject few speak about. That's why we developed the method. The End of Prison includes a daily plan of proximity to God and comprehensive material that offers strategies for digital protection and mental renewal designed to help you restore your spiritual connection with God and eliminate the feeling of guilt you experience from consuming such content. If you're interested in transforming your relationship with God, click now on the pinned comment and take your first step. Now, let's return to the video. Another moment of great tension involved the famous crucifixion scene where Caviezel had to carry a genuinely heavy cross. Some might think it was a lightweight prop, but the truth is that the production chose a real cross for more authenticity. During one take, as he fell, Caviezel dislocated his shoulder, and the scream heard in the final version of the film is not acting, it's real pain. Even injured, he continued, those present claimed there was something almost indescribable in his eyes that showed a determination to complete each scene, reinforcing the expectation that there was a greater purpose at hand. The assistant director also felt the effects of these oddities, experiencing an electric shock when the weather seemed stable and there were no signs of a storm. The group began to wonder how to explain two lightning strikes in the same place affecting people filming the story of Jesus Christ. This kind of question stirs curiosity, but also brings a sense that there was something beyond the ordinary happening. There were even those who didn't believe in anything who were intrigued, as the risk of a fatality was significant. It was as if the entire crew was testing their physical and mental limits with each new filming. Meanwhile, Mel Gibson maintained an authoritative stance on set, ensuring everyone understood the importance of each detail. He rejected any softening of the violent scenes, arguing that the reality of the crucifixion was painful and brutal, and he wanted the audience to feel it on their skin. Critics questioned if the level of realism wasn't exaggerated, but Gibson held firm that the intensity was there to create an impact on the viewer. This was not mere exploitation. He believed that Jesus' sacrifice needed to be shown as faithfully and, in his words, honestly as possible. For those who witnessed closely, there was a mix of fascination and concern. Certain colleagues noticed real wounds on Caviezel's back, the result of the flagellation scenes where the whip, though choreographed to avoid injury, struck him more than once. They also faced sleepless nights and excessive cold during outdoor scenes. With each scene, discomfort took hold of the cast, but it reinforced the sense of realism. Moreover, Mel Gibson's intent to convey a central message about God's unconditional forgiveness cannot be overlooked. The film doesn't end on a pessimistic note. It presents the resurrection as the victorious conclusion of a journey filled with suffering directly relating to the Christian belief that death was not the end for Jesus. This hope captivated many viewers who left the cinema moved and, in some cases, decided to revisit life concepts. It's no coincidence that the production has become a topic of religious and academic debates, even being used in educational projects after the success. Mel Gibson publicly mentioned his intention to continue exploring biblical themes, such as a possible sequel addressing the resurrection of Christ and subsequent events. Rumors about this project left many in anticipation, as the potential to again move the audience's emotions was significant. Meanwhile, Jim Caviezel also stated that if called upon to reprise this universe, he would accept without hesitation, showing that his spiritual commitment remains alive for those who believe that all this is merely coincidence. It's enough to recall the testimonies of those who left skepticism behind and approached Christian practices after participating in or learning about the film's behind the scenes. Luca Lionello, the actor who played Judas, for example, converted to Christianity and baptized his children. It wasn't just him. There were also reports of crew members inspired by what they experienced to seek answers in the Bible or study groups. This phenomenon shows that beyond commercial success, the film had profound personal repercussions on many. The sum of all these elements places the Passion of the Christ in a unique category, a project that combined real sacrifice, unusual phenomena, and genuine faith from several members. This isn't a myth invented to boost extra box office. There are testimonies, behind-the-scenes images, and stories confirmed by those involved. The topic is still discussed today both in religious environments and artistic circles, reinforcing the idea that certain events can transcend logic and leave echoes in collective memory. It's no exaggeration to say that anyone who watches the film feels something different, whether for the religious aspect or the brute force of the scenes. Some are impressed by the richness of historical details. Others are moved by the realism of the suffering and the compassionate gaze that Caviezel conveys as Jesus for Christians. The main message focuses on Christ's sacrifice and the invitation to redemption offered to all. The biblical text in John 3 verse 16 serves as a reminder that this divine love is available to anyone willing to accept it. There are those who leave the cinema touched by the conviction that the story of Jesus is not just an ancient tale but a narrative that affects lives today. It's also worth noting the reaction of those who do not profess the Christian faith, but view the film as a deep dive into the history and customs of the time. Many historians acknowledge the attempt at verisimilitude and the courage to film in ancient languages, although there are disagreements on certain details. The cultural impact is undeniable, and beyond that, the fact that it attracted such a large audience shows there is interest in narratives that go beyond superficial entertainment, exploring themes of pain, sacrifice, and hope. For each person who decides to watch The Passion of the Christ, there's the possibility to reflect on what unconditional love means and how far one would go to demonstrate it. The film is not just a linear narrative of biblical events. It's an invitation to think about faith, courage, and commitment, and if there's one thing the production leaves as a lesson, it's that the persistence of a director and cast can produce magnificent results even amidst severe criticism and extreme difficulties. The final message continues to resonate. Christ died for all, but he lives, and it's up to each one to choose whether to accept his offered forgiveness. The big question, therefore, is not simply whether real lightning or whips struck the cast, or if the recounted phenomena are divine signals. The essential point lies in the intensity with which each person involved lived the story, both actors and audience. For many, these were signs of something higher, for others a call to personal transformation, and for those who prefer to stay away from spiritual explanations, there remains a strong cinematic work that withstands the test of time and provokes intense reactions wherever it goes. In conclusion, it's worth reinforcing that, according to the biblical account, Jesus not only lived without sin but also accepted crucifixion to pave the way for the redemption of all humanity. The Passion of the Christ attempted to depict this event in raw form without hiding the brutality, and in doing so, it awakened a series of sensations and reflections in the crew and audience that extend to the present day. For this reason, many consider it to be more than just a film but a testament of faith and courage capable of leading each person to evaluate their own path. There's no doubt that the production carved out a special place in collective memory, clearly demonstrating the power of a sacrifice that marked history today. If this story touches your heart, the invitation remains relevant. Open your heart to the message of the gospel, accept the forgiveness that Jesus offers, and allow that love to practically affect your life. It's a step that only each one can take for themselves. If this content has been valuable to you, I strongly recommend watching this video appearing on your screen where I reveal the other side of Christ's death that movies and soap operas do not show. See you in the next video.